On 20th April 1889, Adolf Hitler was born to a middle-class family of peasant background in what was then the Austro-Hungarian Empire. He had a very strict father who wanted him to pursue a career in the civil service. But Adolf was more interested in arts and music. When he was still a teenager, Adolf lost both his parents and moved to Vienna. Here, he led a poor and aimless life for several years, selling postcards and watercolor paintings for a living. He applied for admission to Vienna's Academy of Fine Arts, but was rejected twice. In 1914, when World War I broke out, Hitler enlisted in the army. His job was to take messages back and forth. He got the Iron Cross for his services, but the way Germany was treated at the end of the war left him angry and frustrated. Thereafter, Hitler joined the German Workers' Party, which worked for an extreme anti-communist and anti-Jewish agenda. The party was small at first, but Hitler's passionate speeches against communists, Jews, and politicians won over many new supporters. In 1921, Hitler became the party's chairman. He renamed it as the Nazi Party and adopted the swastika as its symbol. 2 years later, Hitler was sent to jail for attempting to overthrow the government. While in prison, he wrote the famous autobiography, Mein Kampf, which means My Struggle. The book described Hitler's ideologies and his plan of creating a nation that consisted purely of people from the German race. Once out of prison, Hitler reformed the Nazi Party and met with outstanding success in the 1930 elections. 3 years later, he became the chancellor of a coalition government. This was January 1933. The very next month, the German Parliament military building was burnt down by an arsonist. At once, the Nazis blamed the fire on the Communist Party, and Hitler used the opportunity to forcibly pass the Enabling Act. The act gave Hitler the power to pass any law without the parliament's involvement. The Enabling Act cleared the way for Hitler to become an absolute dictator, and that is exactly what happened. Soon, Hitler declared the Nazis as the only party in Germany and banned all other parties and unions. He even withdrew Germany from the League of Nations. Then, one night in June 1934, Hitler ordered his guards to kill everyone who opposed him within the party. Within a few hours, hundreds of people were assassinated. Around 30 days later, the German president also passed away, and Hitler took his place as the supreme leader of Germany. With nobody left to stop him, he was now free to do whatever he pleased. So he went after the group he hated most, the Jews. One night in November 1938, the Nazi Party burnt down 400 synagogues and destroyed 7,500 Jewish shops. Almost 30,000 Jews were arrested and sent to concentration camps. This was known as the Crystal Night. The Crystal Night is considered the beginning of the Holocaust, which is one of the darkest chapters of history. In the period between 1939 and 1945, an estimated 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were tortured and murdered by the Nazis in concentration camps that were especially set up for this purpose. The Second World War began officially when Germany invaded Poland in September 1939. The attack was part of Hitler's aim to capture lost territories and restore the might of Germany. By June 1940, German forces had taken over half of France, including Paris. The iconic Eiffel Tower of Paris actually played an important role during the war. The Allies had been using it as a relay for their own radio transmissions and for interceptive accepting German radio communications. When the city fell to the Germans, Hitler wished to hoist the swastika from the top of the Eiffel Tower, but French resistance fighters got off the tower's elevator cables. When Hitler learned that he would have to climb 1,500 steps to get to the top, he decided ultimately against it. After their initial successes, the tide began to turn against the Germans. In April 1945, the Soviets had to push back the German forces a long way to reach Berlin, the German capital. Defeat was now all but inevitable. In the past, Hitler had been known to say, "If you win, you need not have to explain. If you lose, you shouldn't be there to explain." And now, true to his words, Hitler committed suicide, just as he was about to lose. He shot himself on April 30th, 1945. Germany surrendered shortly afterwards, and the years of cruelty and madness inflicted by Hitler finally came to an end.